We're off to the races, Tina. Okay, so full disclosure, I like to operate this vessel in full transparency. We had a killer conversation about a week and a half ago. Okay, I was picking your brain. I was doing all of the things. And then we had a bit of a brush fire behind my home. And I blame everything on fire season and Big Pharma. I don't know if I can really bamboozle my way into blaming Big Pharma for this incident. I'm taking full accountability. But basically, I sat down with Tina Anderson, who is now with me again out of the good graciousness of her heart, and dissected her brain about everything health, wellness, gut health. She is the CEO and co-founder of Just Thrive Probiotics. And I am new to the wellness train. Tina, welcome again. 2.0, part 2. I am very, very new to exploring my relationship to both my gut health and wellness, because as most of you know, and Tina, you know this now too, because we've already done this, I had a baby 15 months ago. And I found that after I gave birth, my whole system was, for lack of better words, fucked. And everyone was telling me I got to check my gut health, get on probiotics, do all the things. And when I tell you that I've noticed like such a difference in my functionality as a human, A, I'd like to say thank you. And B, I just want to once again dissect your brain about everything probiotics, wellness, because it really has been such a game changer for me. So welcome to the show again, Tina Anderson.
Thanks, Jackie. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Like I had said to you, I have gotten on a very dicey TikTok algorithm recently. And what I love about your approach to wellness with your company, Just Thrive, is that it's more about like, we can't really control all the outside factors. Unfortunately, we don't have as a human, as a mother, as a whatever, okay, as an alien, we don't have control over the Kellogg's of it all, the fluoride in the water, all the bullshit that is being ingested in our system on a daily basis. The only thing we can do is try to remedy and troubleshoot and prepare our bodies to like tackle all of this shit. So probiotics is the best place to start. And I want you to tell my listeners kind of what you told me about how I think it gets misconstrued with dumb people like me who just don't know about gut health. I kind of always equated probiotics to like digestive health. And I kind of only correlated the two, like, oh, probiotics are good for people who don't poop, which I also affiliate as. But it goes so far beyond that. And I was wondering if you could just share kind of all the other things that, having a compromised gut contributes to.
Yes. And it is such an important topic because we know our gut health is really dictating virtually all aspects of our overall health. And I don't think you're alone in that. I think most people would say, oh, I need to take a probiotic because I have some digestive issue of some sort, whether it's gas or bloating or diarrhea or constipation. And those are certainly times. Yes, all of those are occasions that are telling you that your gut is imbalanced. You've got some problem going on in your gut. But what we now understand is that it's really hard to find any disease out there that's not associated with some type of imbalance in our gut. So when we talk about even anxiety and depression, there is a correlation between your gut and your brain. When you talk about allergies, autoimmune issues, those are all stemming from your gut health. Immune issues and your immune health is all stemming from your gut health. All of your organs are really impacted by the health or unhealth of your gut microbiome. And our gut microbiome, unfortunately, in this world we're living in, is being attacked on a daily basis. I mean, we know there's antibiotics that are, either that we take antibiotics, which I know sometimes antibiotics save lives, but we also know that they are overprescribed. Those are wreaking havoc in our gut. They are killing off our bad bacteria, which was what we want them to do, but they're also killing off our good bacteria, which is so critical to our health. Glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup that's being sprayed all over our produce, is a huge offender to our gut health. And so we're living in this world that's so antimicrobial, so anti everything microbiome. And yet, we just have to somehow figure out a way to live in that world and take care of our microbiome. And so it's tricky. So you are right that digestive issues are why most people go to a probiotic, but now we're really starting to understand, thanks to the Human Microbiome Project that was launched about 10 years ago, told us more about the gut than we ever knew before. And now we know that you could talk about rheumatoid arthritis in your gut health, and you could talk about anxiety in your gut health. I mean, if you Google any of those, any disease and gut health, there's bound to be study after study showing the correlation between the two.
What would you say are the biggest factors in screwing with your gut health?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are so many. So we know that we are 10 times more bacterial than we are human cells. That's very hard for people to wrap their heads around. So imagine that our whole body, we are 10 times more bacterial than we are human. And yet we live in this antibacterial world, from antibacterial hand soaps to antibacterial hand sanitizers to antibiotics, like I had mentioned. And these antibiotics, they're not just antibiotics we take that I mentioned. They're antibiotics that are in our animal products. So our animal products are being injected with all these antibiotics that are really wreaking havoc on we're ingesting them too. And then we know glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, it's being sprayed all over our produce. So here we are eating like fruit and vegetables, thinking we're doing the right thing. And yet these fruits and vegetables are literally like sprayed with these glyphosates that are wreaking havoc on our gut health. And I don't mean to tell people don't eat fruits and vegetables, but really try to, eat more clean if you can. Try to eat organic. You could find organic at affordably priced in the frozen section.
Can we trust organic food, Tina Anderson? Because I get all my information from TikTok, as a professional does. And I am so wrapped up. You have to understand, before having a baby, Tina, I would have, if there was a Rogue sponge in the middle of the road that had vodka in it, I'd squeeze it into my mouth and not give 1/8 of a fuck. Now that I have a baby, this is a true story. He just started a Montessori program, and I went to Erewhon, which is my secret vice and something that I don't really like to broadcast because I am deeply unsettled and embarrassed by it. I just don't. I think I fit the cliche Erewhon mold too well, so I try to really fight against it, but it's just my truth. I went and bought 27 bottles of the Mountain Valley spring water, and I brought it to the Montessori school, and I was like, hey, sorry to be this girl, but if you wouldn't mind refilling my son's sippy cup with the bottled water, because I don't really want him to have microplastics and or fluoride from the tap water. And as I was saying it, it felt like a bit, because it's so deeply not who I am in theory, but in practice, I'm a little fucking worried.
Yeah. And you should be worried. I mean, there are a lot of chemicals in our water. There's a lot of chemicals in our food supply. And I don't know if you know Callie and Casey Means, but they have been all around the circuit talking about how our food system is so corrupt, and it's just loaded with all of these glyphosates, loaded with all of these chemicals and forever chemicals that are.
I'm trying to bring down Kellogg's.
Yeah, right.
Bring
exactly.
them down.
And as they should. I mean, we are literally marketing to our children, the most vulnerable population that we have, all of these sugary drinks and sugary foods and foods that are loaded with chemicals and food dyes. And it's horrible. I mean, it's absolutely horrible. And this is something I have been preaching about for the last 11 years. And I just unfortunately don't have the medical degree that Casey Means has and the Harvard business degree that Callie Means has. But I love to have people start following them and listening to them too, because they speak the truth and they have so much insider information on this. And unfortunately, the world that we're living in is really disruptive to our health. It's why we see this rise in autism and allergies and autoimmune issues with our children, our most vulnerable population. I mean, I'm a grandmother now, and I have one grandchild. But when I was a child, I knew one classmate who had an allergy from kindergarten all the way through the end of high school. One classmate had an allergy. And I would say most people my age probably didn't even know any. I mean, we didn't see this rise in allergies like we did back then. And now we're seeing, you can't even, there's peanut free tables. You can't go to a restaurant without them asking what food allergies do you have? So it really is a huge problem in this world. And I feel strongly that it really does stem from the gut. I mean, we aren't going to get away from these offenders. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not going to get away from
We can't
antibiotics.
control it. We just have to like equip our bodies to, handle it, right?
Right. Like my big thing is trying to become resilient. That is my word, is resilience. I want us to become resilient human beings so that when we are faced with things, I mean, even alcohol, unfortunately is a huge disruptor to our gut health. I apologize.
Tina,
I'm sorry.
me likey the sauce. Let me tell you, I've cut back a lot since having a baby because I'm just trying to like snatch my bod back. I've got like a lingering 7 pounds, which, it's not of the times in 2024 to say that on a microphone, but I'd like to snatch up, you know what I mean? And so I have cut back a bit, but when I tell you that nothing brings me more joy than at 7:18 p.m., I have a little crystal bell by my sofa and I ring it and my husband comes in and brings me a martini. Just one every single day. And I do feel like it has a pickling effect now.
Yeah. I mean, if it brings you joy, that's important too. And that's where I'm not a huge fan of like these really strict diets and staying away from certain foods, because you need to have some joy in your life too. And that's part of your health too. I mean, if you're going to a restaurant and you're having this great meal with your loved one and then, you're like, I can't eat this and grilling the waiter or waitress. I mean, you have to try to find a balance. I mean, the bottom line is we're going to have martinis once in a while. I like a glass of wine every once in a while. I'm not saying I'm not going to ever have those things, but it's just that we want to, and we're going to be faced with all of these chemicals that are sprayed on our food supply. And so you had asked me earlier about organic. Can we trust it? I mean, I think we could trust that most things that are labeled organic, they are really trying to make them organic, but we've got all these pesticides in our rainwater now. I mean, it doesn't matter. Nothing is 100% organic unless you're living in a tribe in Tanzania and that you're eating off clean land. So, so that's why I'm always just a fan of making yourself resilient and trying to stay healthy and taking care of your gut, because your gut is absorbing all of the nutrients that we're taking in. And if our guts are inflamed, it's not absorbing all those nutrients. So you could be taking vitamin D and vitamin C and multivitamins and all these things. But if your gut is inflamed,
it's not sticking. Yeah.
It's not. It just isn't. And we know that most Americans have a leaky gut and don't even know it. And we can talk about that later if you'd like. But leaky gut is, really wreaking havoc on so much of our overall health. And it's really where we need to start with health.
Geez. I don't even know what a leaky gut is. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's kind of easy. It kind of sounds like, or it pretty much explains what it is. It's basically you have this intestinal cell wall, so the gut lining, and LPS toxins seep from your gut into your bloodstream.
Oh, we don't like that.
No. And when that happens, you have this chronic inflammatory response by your body, and your body recognizes these toxins seeping into your bloodstream, even food particles. If you have a leaky gut and you're eating spinach and kale and all these great nutrients, if those food particles seep into your bloodstream, the immune system recognizes it as an invader and it starts this inflammatory response. And this is where chronic disease starts happening. I mean, 60% of adult Americans have one chronic condition. I mean, that is horrible. And
that's 40%
have two or more chronic conditions. So, and this is now affecting our children. And, we're seeing epidemic levels of like all these things, allergies, autism, with our kids. And as a mother of 3, I'm very passionate about that topic.
No, me too. It's so crazy. I have been, like I said, just on a real dark wormhole, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Like, I would say 83% of the time, but I have heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the cigarette companies are bought out like Kellogg's and have some correlation to like massive food groups. So a lot of the things that we're giving our kids and this theory, this ideology, like, well, back in my day, we had Cracker Jacks and we turned out okay. Like that whole kind of old school antiquated mentality is no longer applicable, because the foods that people were ingesting 40 years ago are not the same foods that we're ingesting now. And they're designed. I mean, we're talking about cigarette companies. They're designed to be addictive. The chemicals they're adding to the cereals, to the snacks, to the crackers. Am I making all of this up, or is this real?
No, that is real. And literally these foods are being made to be addictive. And now the USDA, their food recommendations are talking about having it's 2 grams of sugar for kids at 2 years old. Why would a child need sugar? Why would that even be necessary? It's unbelievable. And these foods are being made to be addictive, and they don't have nutrients in them. They're not giving us, if we just go back to easy things like whole real foods, make some eggs, make some eggs, take some, get some carrots, get some grapes and apples and these types of things. And just let's go with whole foods, chicken and steak and things like that are just so nutrient dense and are going to, not cause us to be addictive, not cause us to be overweight. And, we've come to a point where we are, this body shaming, it's bad to we should be embracing heavier set bodies. And it's it's unfortunately, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to be overweight. And, and 75% of adult Americans are obese or overweight. And that is not healthy. We do not have metabolic health.
It's such an interesting conversation because I think we've gotten so politically correct and woke, and there is a fine line between being healthy and unhealthy. And if you take kind of all the social ramifications away from making a statement like that and look at it from a perspective of someone's health, then that is the truth. It's not something to strive for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there are people who have trouble losing weight, and I sympathize. I definitely do. I've always been one of these people that can eat a lot, and I'm very hyper. I've got lots of energy. And so I've never had weight issues. And I always have sympathized for people who have trouble,
Of course.
we do have to sometimes, I always have eaten pretty healthy foods. I grew up with immigrant parents. They've always cooked real foods, whole foods. And then obviously like I said, I'm much older. So I wasn't faced with all of those glyphosates and antibiotics in our foods, and kids now are just faced with them more.
Yeah.
And so we really have to be aware of that. And I think the biggest thing, and empowerment is one of our core values in our company, because I just want to empower people and consumers. Look at your food labels, you could listen to your doctor and hear what they say, but understand that doctors are being educated by Big Pharma. Big Pharma is funding
Big
most
Pharma,
medical
Tina.
schools.
That's why we lost our first episode. It was Big
right.
Pharma's
That's right.
fault. Everything is Big Pharma's fault.
Yeah.
Also, in America, if you go anywhere else in the world, they are not pushing medications on us. When I'm trying to sit back at the end of my day with my martini and my little bell, okay, and I'm trying to watch my goddamn stories, and I am hit with 18 different commercials hawking chlamydia medication, allergy medication, and you see some bitch on a bike in a meadow with some soft music, and then they're hawking an IUD or whatever. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why are they allowed marketing dollars for a medication that you might not need if you could work on your goddamn gut health?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Just saying.
I'm appalled by that, but I'm more appalled by the fact that that pharmaceutical companies could actually provide funding to medical schools. So, they're there's no classes on nutrition, or very few classes on nutrition in medical school. And what you eat, I've seen it with myself. When you eliminate certain foods or add certain foods in, and you're eating real foods, it makes such a difference on your mental health, on, your mood and your overall metabolic health. And that's where we need to start. And unfortunately, that's not what you go to the doctor generally, I'm not making a generalization on I am making a generalization on
We
all
like
doctors.
Generalizations at the Bitch Bible podcast, so go ahead.
Okay, good. Yeah. Most of them are not sitting down with you and saying, what did you eat today?
Yeah.
What did you eat this week?
Yeah.
And how about we add this in? Or why don't we eliminate this? And what are you drinking? How many sugary drinks are you drinking? And, they don't have the time. Their hands are tied because they could only have 10 minutes a visit, or 5 minutes a visit, or 7 point something minutes a visit. And they don't have the time to talk to you. So they're very well-intended people. They have well intentions or good intentions, but they have their hands tied, and they don't have the time to talk to you about your nutrition. And so that's why it's so important to me, and why it's been so fun for us, is just trying to empower people. And, I always say, of course, we brought a very very robust and strong probiotic to the market, but I'm just passionate about people empowering themselves. Become the CEO of your own health. And it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. You've got to take control of your health. Do your own research. That's why we research, we have very research blogs on our website, because we want people to feel empowered. And whether it's our probiotic or another one, just get away from Big Pharma, as much as you can, get away from Big Pharma. There is a place for pharmaceuticals. I mean, of course, you have an infection, a car accident, an accident, a disease, acute situations. There are places for them. We just feel so passionately, it's not a place for chronic condition. When you have a chronic condition, you need to get to the root cause of it and try to uncover, the layer. Maybe you're on a pharmaceutical for a temporary period of time, but it is not you should not be on it for the rest of your life.
I feel like one of the reasons I love your company so much is, and I think that you can really trust your products, is I think the origin story of your company is so impressive. You started as a lawyer, right? It wasn't like you were in the field. You took some time off. You were a mom. You started, kind of like how I am, being very concerned and, focused on wellness and gut health and the root of all of these problems, and then cut to Just Thrive, which you started how many years ago?
11 years ago.
Okay, 11 years ago. And I think now, we see so many probiotics. We are being hawked probiotics all the time, but it's kind of been more recently. It's like everyone got on the train a little late and is like, oh my God, gut health, gut health, gut health. It's all you hear about. And just knowing that you've been in the game for 11 years. It just speaks to the quality and the credibility of your company, because you kind of were the trailblazer.
Yeah, well, even more so, we came out and brought an entirely different category to probiotics. So most probiotics are made up of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains. That is what the overwhelming probiotic strains that you find on the market are made up. We did not use those strains very intentionally, because we know those strains are very sensitive organisms. Those are like 95% of the probiotics have those types of strains. We brought a category of a probiotic to the market called spore-based probiotics. And we were complete disruptors. We were literally climbing this uphill battle, but the studies were so profound, because the difference between a spore-based probiotic and what you find mostly on the market today is that they have this endospore shell around themselves. And why that's important is that most probiotics would be killed off in the stomach acid.
Right.
We have this gastric system, the stomach, it's very acidic. It's meant to protect us. It's meant to kill off pathogens. But as a result, most probiotics would be killed in the stomach. And so when they get to the intestines where they're supposed to go, they just are dead. They're basically dead bacteria.
So your probiotics survive the journey so that they can deliver the goods and, get your gut health going.
Yes, exactly. And when they're there, so they get
I have to simplify this because I'm stupid. You know what I mean?
No, it's super simple. In fact, one of the best, if you loved me to simplify it, I could talk about my favorite analogy I love to talk about, because I think it really explains the difference. Okay. So if you envision this garden, and this garden has been stepped on and trampled on, and those weeds growing all over the garden, and all those good plants that are there are just stepped on. They're not thriving in the garden. So the conventional probiotics that you find,
love that.
Thriving. You like that?
I like that.
Pun intended. Yeah. So those conventional probiotics that 95% of them on the market, you go in and you throw them in that garden. Most of them won't survive. Most of them won't even get to the garden. But let's just say they did get to the garden. They may plant a new plant in there, but they're not doing anything with those weeds in the garden. And they're not doing anything with those plants that have been stepped on and trampled on. Okay. Where the spores that are the strains that we use with Just Thrive, you throw them in that garden. They attach to the soil. They have the ability to get rid of that overgrowth of weeds. And then here's the key. They actually have the ability to bring those plants that have been stepped on and trampled on and help them thrive and, flourish in your garden. So if you compare that to your intestines, it's the same thing. The spores then Just Thrive go into your intestines. They get there alive. They have the ability to get rid of that overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria. And then they have the ability to bring our good bacteria back to life and help us, thrive and flourish and make us resilient. That is the key, because when our gut is healthy, we're able to deal with those pathogens that are faced with us. from time to time. And that's the key. We want to be resilient. And that's why the spores are so much more effective. And we've studied this, like I mentioned, we're a research-based company. We did one of our first studies we did was we showed that within 2 weeks that these strains cause a 30% favorable shift in the garden. So just after 2 weeks,
wow,
we had not in the garden, but in the gut. So we had
in the metaphorical garden of your body. Yeah. I got you.
Right. So it's exciting. It's why you see such profound results with the product.
We love results. I'm going to make a quick pivot here. Let's talk about feces. Okay. It's something that is heavy on my mind all of the time. I have long been labeled a constipation queen, and it's something I lean into because it's just part of my brand at this point. But my husband, and we fight about this a lot because I have never met a man that makes more bowel movements in my life than my husband. And he also, just to really rub it in, he likes to kind of migrate from bathroom to bathroom. So by the end of the day, he hits every bathroom in this house. And I've tried to quarantine him into one defecation station, if you will, that's at the far end of the house, because I just don't understand why he needs to sully every single one of my beautiful bathrooms. But I guess it speaks to his gut health because for myself, I feel like I eat healthier than him. I consume more liquids than him, but I have a window of opportunity. And I don't know if it's just in my head or if it's in my gut, but if I don't go before 11 a.m., it's done for me. Like, it's not happening. I also thrive, you're welcome, in a public restroom because I think maybe there's like less shame attached and there's more anonymity in a public restroom. So I'm able to let go and let God, if you will. If I know that I'm like safe and in a public restroom. Isn't that odd that I'm more comfortable in a public restroom?
Yeah, I would say that that's not what you see as often. Usually you see people that can't go in a public restroom or they can't go when they're traveling. So that's interesting.
No, I have too many people in my house. If I hear a footstep, like it's like Groundhog's Day. It just goes right back up, like, and I'll never see it again. Yeah. I can't. I get I have stage fright. So I have to like relinquish control and I have to find myself, in a Valley Nordstrom's handicap stall.
That's funny. That is funny. Well, wherever you need to go, just make sure you go there to go because it is so important to be going to the bathroom on a regular basis. So
how many times, Tina?
Yeah. I would say 2 to 3 times everyone's individual. It was
a day,
but I'd say 2 to 3 times a day is really healthy. Yeah.
Ooh.
And that's what's so crazy is people think, oh, I go every other day or I go once a day. And just because it's normal for you or it's normal for the rest of the world doesn't mean it's optimal. We've come to this theory where we think, oh, we need to be normal. No, we want to be optimal. But I would say 2 to 3 times a day is really what we should be striving for because we want to get those toxins out. We want to be regular, feel clean. And that's the key to when we are going to the bathroom that regularly, we know we have a healthy microbiome.
Would you say that skin health is like a depiction of your inside health or no? Because I think that inside I might be corroding, but my skin is so luminous and stunning that I think it gives the allure of health. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I do think that skin health, it does tell us a lot of things. We know when someone has psoriasis or eczema or acne, those are all signs that you have some gut issues going on. That's how I got my kids when they were in high school to start this product because I was like, they started breaking out and I'm like, you need to take this. And they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. So your skin, there is a huge gut and skin connection. And just like the gut brain connection, you were talking about, it's what you're thinking about going to the bathroom that's making you not go to the bathroom. And so we know there is a huge connection with your gut and your brain, and you cannot dismiss this. This is why, people who have like anxiety or depression, I'm always telling them to focus on their gut health because there's something called the gut brain axis, and they're talking, it's the vagus nerve, and there's signals going back and forth between the gut and the brain all day, every day. Mm-hmm. And our neurotransmitters are being produced in our gut. So many times people thought of our neurotransmitters as being produced in our brain, but 90% of our serotonin, which is our happy hormone, is actually produced in our gut. not in our brain. So when you start to like fix your gut and heal your gut, all of a sudden you start being in a better mood. So many times people come to our product because they have digestive issues, like you talked about. Most people come to it because they have digestive issues, but then they start to say, well, I'm sleeping better, or I'm just happier. I'm in a better mood. I have more energy. We hear that a lot, or I have better weight management. All of these things are tied to your gut health. And that's what's really, really exciting.
That for me was the biggest draw to start taking your probiotics, because like I said, I always just correlated it to like gut health. And honestly, I like complaining about being constipated. So I wasn't like really looking to fix anything in that region because it's just part of my personality. But once I found out that it had such an impact on brain health and also skin health, a little bit shallow over here, that's what really sold me, because I had no idea that those two things were connected. And that's such an easy fix. I struggled a bit. I didn't have postpartum, but I definitely felt low after giving birth. I just felt like kind of uninspired. I felt a little groggy, which I understand like most new mothers do. And I didn't really feel like myself. And then I did start having some panic attacks, which I had suffered with before, and I just felt like my whole insides were just out of sorts. And everybody said, like, we got to work on your gut, you got to figure that out, and everything else will kind of follow suit. And I'm here to say that that has been true for me.
Oh, I love hearing that. I mean, moms go through so much in childbirth. And I always say, when you are starting to think about getting pregnant and when you're pregnant, that is the most important time to be taking care of your gut for a lot of the reasons that you just mentioned, just for your mood, but also because you as the mom are passing your child their microbiome, their gut bacteria. You're inoculating your child with their gut bacteria during vaginal childbirth, close skin to skin contact, and breastfeeding. So it is amazing how important it is for a pregnant mom and about to be pregnant mom to be taking care of their gut health, because that is the best gift you could give your child, is this healthy, diverse, lush microbiome. Because lush. Yes, just like a lush garden. I mean, that is such a gift, because that child is going to have such a better, they're going to be more resilient than another child who, wasn't inoculated with those really beneficial microbes. So and then moms are dealing with so many issues after birth, and really, really critical to be taking care of your gut health. Your hormone health is so important. And there's so many hormones that are being produced or metabolized in your gut. So really have to be focusing on your gut health.
And then you guys also have products for pets and children.
Yes.
Correct.
So we have a pet probiotic. We've done human clinical trials on our probiotic for leaky gut that we mentioned. But we also have a clinical trial on our pet probiotic, because pets are being faced with a lot of the human issues because of the glyphosates that are sprayed. Even if you're not using Roundup on your grass, you're going to the park, the dogs are getting glyphosate, and then they're having a lot of issues as well, and lots of diseases that they didn't used to have years ago. Right. And so we have a probiotic for pets, which you just open the capsule and put it in their pet food, and they're not going to really notice it's there. There's a little bit of beef liver in there. That'll make it a little bit more tasty for the dogs or cats. But I could do it for either cats or dogs. And then for children, you could open the regular probiotic and sprinkle it in their food or drink or whatever you want to do. If they're really little, you could put it like on, if you're on your breast, if you're nursing, whatever works for you. But
what age do you recommend starting kids on probiotics? Because I'm ready.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about on our packaging, it's like about choking hazards, but I mean, I would say, maybe 2 years old, you could probably, even sooner. I'm getting,
if you can break it up and like kind of mix it in yogurt and stuff, like that seems like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to start doing that.
You just want to make sure the yogurt's not loaded with sugar. So that's the biggest key, because so many of these yogurts they have more sugar. You may as well just go out for ice cream instead of having the yogurt.
Oh my God. No, we do no added sugar in this house. It is so crazy that you have to look at these labels. Like you have to look at these labels.
I know it's like hard to find yogurt. I mean, it takes me like 10 minutes looking for yogurt that doesn't have the added sugar. It's mind blowing. So
I know.
yeah,
I
it's
never
so
thought I
easy.
would be sitting here talking about this, but I feel so strongly about it. If they can't ask for it, don't give it to them. And even when they can ask for it, say no. Just say no.
Yes.
Like, as long as we have control, I think about this, my son's 15 months old. When he wants to start woofing cupcakes at his friend's house, I know that I'll probably not be able to control that. But in the interim, I really feel strongly about every single thing he puts in his body because it's the fuel, it's the gasoline. Like, it doesn't cost, it doesn't, it's just a little bit of extra effort to make sure that you're, buying the best things. Like, you just have to read. Just look, take a look-see. It's easy.
I know. And
Crazy.
I love to hear that you're saying this because I feel like this is the way your generation is speaking about, babies and kids. And like, they're not giving the kids a lot of sugar. And they're really, I think there's such a concerted effort of your generation of being healthy and taking control of their health and, looking at things online. And I know you joke about learning about things on TikTok, and there's a lot of misinformation on TikTok. There's a lot of misinformation on Instagram, but you know what? There's also a lot of good information at those sources too. And there's a lot of misinformation at your doctor's office too, unfortunately, because we're learning stuff from Big Pharma. So, it's hard to be a consumer, and I sympathize with everybody, but thank God for you and shows like yours that you're bringing this information
so true
to the forefront, because we have to bring this message out there and empower women like you, who are moms, are saying, no, I mean, my daughter is the exact same way as you. She's like, there's no reason to give my son any sugar until, yes, when you're not going to be like,
eventually, are they going to have a piece of funfetti cake? Sure. Okay. Of course.
Yes.
Let me tell you, Tina, oh my God, last week. Okay. I was at this little class with my son, and there was a mom there with Lucky Charms in a little bit of like a little bag. Okay. And she was giving some of the other kids. She's like, oh, do you want to share with Lucy? Let's give her a couple of these. Oh yeah. Like, and I was from across the room because, I get a little hands off in those parenting classes. I'm like, I'm not a hovercraft. Like, go do you, honey. And I was sitting there just, chit chatting away. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this fucking bitch, okay, with her bag of Lucky Charms, pardon my language, Tina. And she's giving all the kids like little dogs, little bones. You know what I mean? Giving them the Lucky Charms. Yeah. And my son was reaching up for one of those little rainbow marshmallows. And I had just spent about 3.5 hours researching the corruption of the Kellogg's brand. And when I tell you, I lunged, it was as if she was giving him a rogue needle of crack cocaine. You know what I mean? I would have preferred it at that point. I was like, no. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I was like, no, but I was trying to be cool because I didn't want to seem judgmental. You know what I mean? Because there's like a lot of like weird mom power dynamics. So I was like trying to be like lax and chill, but also like almost broke her wrist while she was handing my son one of those marshmallows. Because, by the way, my son is such a little asshole. And he, like, if he got a taste of those fucking Lucky Charms, he would go on a hunger strike for 7 days until he got those Lucky Charms. Like, we're there. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, oh, no, sorry. We're not like, and then I started making excuses. It was the most awkward. I'll never go back. I'll never fucking go back. I freaked everybody out. And I walked out of there with my head held high because I was like, I just saved a life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's so funny that you're like, oh, I'm the weirdo, or like we feel like we're weird that we're doing natural things. And yet, how about the people giving synthetic and synthetic dyes and all of these synthetic chemicals and in our kids, and we're the weirdos trying to give them natural foods. I mean, no,
yeah, like why don't we just like set up a line of cocaine on the playmat? Okay, like that's what you're doing right now. I was like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I mean, I literally almost, I had to restrain myself. I had to like collect myself. I almost just dug my little talons into her wrist and was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I get it.
But I controlled myself.
Mama Bear came out.
Yeah, we exited stage left pretty quickly because it was like, I had like a full meltdown. But anyways, Tina, you're the best. Thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom with us. And I am going to let everyone know where they can get your products because they really are so amazing for the whole family. And I just can't thank you enough.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. And I always like to remind people that we have product coaches on our team, and so
Great.
if this is intimidating to you, we have the most amazing product coaches. If you go to our website, which is justthrivehealth.com, I know you'll probably be telling we have a discount, but if you want to talk to the product coaches or set up a meeting, by all means do that, because we have so much information. I know this could be intimidating for people, so just keep that in mind too. We want to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tina. Like I said, I'll let everyone know where they can get everything, and have a great day.
Thanks. You too, Jackie.
Thank you.